Normally I make videos about things I'm already very confident in or very good at. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. The back bend in the thoracic extension is something that I've struggled with, but I've also sort of shied away from. I've sort of worked around it. So I've never had a really deep tuck handstand. I've never worked the back bridge for any consistency. I've always talked about doing it, but never got around to it because it's something I don't naturally find easy. I've managed to get away with it, so I can one arm handstand, I can do a Mexican handstand, I can do certain elements that need some sort of backbend movement, but I'm still very tight in the position. So today I'm going to go through my routine that I'm planning on doing, and just to show you some ideas if you are tight in the thoracic hollow back bending area. So most of what I do today is going to be back bridge related. I'm going to use the handstand for entries and exits. You don't need to do that, but most of my channel is around the handstand, hand balancing. So I'm going to do that in my own training. So to start, I'm going to use some options to open up the thoracic and open up the hips to get ready. So I have a yoga wheel, a standard small foam roller, and a yoga block. So I'm just going to start with extension over the roller first. So this is a common one that I use quite often now. So just starting at the bottom of the ribs. I'm locking in here, so I'm not going to arch through the low back, and I'm not going to move my neck by itself. So I'm going to try and focus on where the roller is. I'm going to go into extension only, just where the roller is. So get as much movement as I can there. I'll do 2 or 3, then I'm going to move. Imagine I'm moving one segment of my spine. Do the same thing. And then keep making the way up the back. Okay, and then when I get up close to the head, where it doesn't feel like it's doing much, I'm going to lift the butt up and I'm going to roll over that area. I'm going to try and have my butt and my fingers as close to the floor as possible while I'm doing this. Okay, and then I'm going to go onto the yoga wheel next. So you could use a fit ball or you could use the edge of a bench or something. You could hold on to something as well. So if you have stool bars or just hold on to a chair. Yoga wheel variation, I'm going to hold on to the yoga wheel as I do this. And then I'm just going to try and open the hips. Take the elbows towards the floor. Now again, you have an option there to either spend time there, so I do longer duration holds in that extension, or you could just do repetitions in and out. If you're doing repetitions, I'd normally go into a stronger, deeper position than you would do if you're just hanging out for time. So opening the hip flexor up before we get into the back bending. So I'm going to go into quite a wide lunge position. I'm going to go into a posterior tilt, and I'm going to push the hip as far forwards and down as I can, arching back a little bit, but I'm making sure that I don't feel anything in the low back. So hips going towards the heel. So again, I could do contract, relax. So I could push as deep as I can for about 10 seconds, come back out, go again, or I could just do longer holds there. Then I'm going to introduce the back foot as well. So if you can lift the foot up, if not, put your foot up against a bench or the couch or a wall. And then I'm still doing that push forwards, that posterior tilt, but I'm also pulling the foot and trying to keep the torso as upright as possible. Same thing on the opposite side. So posterior tilt, pushing that hip towards the front heel. Bending the knee. Nice, then coming back out of there. Now we're going to use the yoga block. And this is something that I've found a little bit more aggressive. Up till recently, I couldn't do this one. Yoga blocks is different sizes as well. So I'm going to sit this roughly where my bra strap is. If you're not wearing a bra, like mid to lower thoracic. So there. And I'm going to try and relax over it as best I can. And depending on your mobility, you can either use some mats to change the intensity, or you could change the position of the block. So I'm trying to relax the hips, not so I arch through the low back, so I let go of the pelvis with the hip flexors a bit more, and trying to relax through the shoulders. So this one's more of a passive I find with this size block now, once I relax, I can get my head quite comfortably to the floor and relax through the hips and the butt, and arms and shoulders quite relaxed. When I started this, I couldn't do that, and that was like 2 weeks ago. Okay, I'm going to come back out of there. Now, if you're going to do the handstand variations, just warm up your handstand, warm up your wrists, warm up your shoulders a little bit, whatever you need to do to get comfortable kicking up into handstand. Now, if you don't have a box, you could use something else that you can change the height of. Ideally, it's something that you can put weight into. You could use stool bars, you could use the wall itself. I'm going to kick over from handstand because I'm pretty confident to do that, and I'm going to lower my feet to the box. If you're not so confident, you could have the box up against the wall, put your feet to the wall, and then walk your feet down to the box, or have someone spot you. Okay, so I'm just going to come into this position, and I'm going to hold here for about 30 seconds, trying to push the shoulders up and away a little bit. Not to have to worry too much about away now, because I'm quite on top of the hands. But if I was on a lower position, we have to think about pushing away a little bit more to keep the shoulders at least on top of the hands. Okay, once I've done 30, I kick back out again. I'm now just going to do exactly the same thing, but change the height. So I've come down a little bit. Now, if you start to get out of your ability in terms of kicking over and coming to the box, then you could start on the floor and put your feet up and push up. So same deal, 30 seconds, pushing up and away. Now I can play around with my head position here. So this is a little bit easier, chin tucked. Looking at the floor is a little bit harder. Mobility wise, it's probably better to be here. Handstand wise, in terms of balance, it's probably better to be there. So I play with both positions. So this is going to start to get a little bit more trickier for me now. So I'm going to have to probably drop a little bit harder to get my feet to the box. And then once I'm there, I'm going to have to definitely try and push up in this direction with the shoulders. Because the risk is now is that my shoulders don't stay on top of my hands and they go too close towards the box. So I'm now going to come onto the stools instead of the box. Now for me, this is where I can't kick over and land. with confidence down onto the boxes. So I'm now going to do the push-up method to get up into position. There's also going to be, again, a bit more taxing for me to keep the shoulders on top of the hands. Now, if you find the box or the steps move, just stick them up against the wall. So now I'm going to go with no box and feet on the floor. Now for me, this is probably somewhere where I shouldn't be hanging out for the 30 seconds because I'm not quite in the right position and I should be up on a higher position. So what I'd recommend is whatever position you can get with the feet, so the lowest position, and still have the shoulders directly on top of the hands, that's where you should be doing your main sets. Now obviously that's going to change a little bit daily when you train. So check yourself, video yourself every time, and then change the foot position depending on how your shoulders sit on that particular day. But I'm always going to test that floor position at the end and just see how I go. I'm going to try and hold 30 seconds. The other option is you could do bridge push-ups in the position, which is a little bit more aggressive, use a little bit more strength, but a different variation instead of the longer holds. Now, if you are super tight or don't feel like you have the strength to push up in that position, you could use things like a chair, a bench, or a ball to lay over and just get yourself comfortable with it, and just mainly work those hip flexors, shoulders, and thoracic extension exercises, and then slowly you should be able to get into the position. So if you're keen to work on that back bridge, that thoracic extension, then hopefully that's giving you some ideas and a bit of a guide to work along to. Stick with it. Don't do what I do and keep putting it off. Uh, let's do it together. Let me know how you go. Stick any comments below. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated. And I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.